Watching Viewpoint, I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. In a relief for spiritual leader Jaggi Vasudev, also called Sadguru, the Supreme Court today paused a Madras High Court order that had asked Tamil Nadu police to investigate cases filed against his organization, Isha Foundation. The bench, led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, was hearing Isha Foundation's challenge against the High Court order after hundreds of cops entered its premises in Coimbatore on Tuesday. This entire episode must be looked at from the context of the fact that Asaram Bapu, Swami Nityanand, Gurmeet Ram Rahim, these are names of godmen who were caught on the wrong side of the law. Like in all professions, there are undoubtedly a few bad apples in the field of spiritual leaders as well. And they become the reason why sometimes godmen are looked with suspicion and they come under scrutiny, especially when they're raking in the millions by running a global enterprise. Isha Foundation is no exception. In fact, a leadership program that they're advertising for right now charges 3.5 lakh rupees for 4 days. So undoubtedly, it's a place that draws an elite crowd and accomplished professionals. The two women who are in the eye of a storm right now, Geetha and Latha, are highly qualified professional. One is a postgraduate with a degree from a UK university. The other is a software engineer. They could have led regular lifestyles and held lucrative jobs, but they chose the ashram life. The parents have a problem with this. They believe it is because of what they call brainwashing by Sadhguru. I'm going to introduce Abha Singh, senior advocate and also a women's rights activist, joining me on the program. Very good evening, Abhaji. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to join you, Afrida ji.
Okay, I want to begin with the question that I had in my mind, top of my mind, the fact that you have these two women who have deposed in court. They are 38 and 49 years old. And the parents say they were brainwashed, they are kept under unlawful confinement. That is the primary complaint against Isha Foundation. Now, of course, the Supreme Court has taken the matter for itself. But how are you reading these developments? The fact that the parents, they know other complainants, the very parents of these two individuals who are saying that this is a wrongful confinement and they have been brainwashed in this case.
The father filed a habeas corpus writ in Madras High Court. This was on 27 August because the father feels that the two girls are not meeting him at all and they have been brainwashed. But the issue which comes here is of a fundamental right, because if I am an adult, I have a right to choose. I have a right to choose the manner in which I want to live, where I want to live, whether I want to work or I don't want to work. So here the tussle is, I would say, between paternal rights, paternal supremacy over individual fundamental right, and that is what the issue is. But a very valid point was raised by the father, that on one hand you have Sadhguru, who's got his daughter happily married, who is enjoying all the joys of motherhood or whatever family, and here my two daughters, they've been made monks. So they have been brainwashed. So definitely the Madras High Court was right to that extent, that all Madras High Court did was that it asked the local police to get all the facts. Because if there has been a complaint where a doctor in the ashram was filed a case for POXO, under POXO, that abusing 12 girls, whatever the truth was, all Madras High Court said was that you get all the facts before us. But now that the matter has gone to Supreme Court has withdrawn, taken away the matter from the High Court and stopped any police inquiry. I mean, I'm okay if the Supreme Court feels that, yes, I'm going to listen to the matter. But stopping the police from doing investigation, I feel, is interfering into the powers of the executive, because the police, in its own right, the IO, if I go by the laws and the acts, the investigating officer's inquiry cannot be compromised. So that part, I feel, should have been continued, because, as you said, Ram Rahim, Dera Sacha Sauda, Asaram, all these places, it is these innocent women, these women under depression, who have been abused or who have been forced to leave their homes and sexually exploited. So that part, I am also there, that women, because here also you see one of the girls who's now in her 40s, she's a divorcee. So maybe she was going through some mental trauma, mental stress, and the ashram people have played on it. So
There's
that
a
much
very
part.
serious allegation, Abha Singh, that the father is raising, that Jaggi Vasudev had an axe to grind. They had a fallout with the father, and he claims that this is a way of getting back at me. Let's, in fact, listen into a bit
I'm
of
a
that
retired
statement
professor
that
and
has come
scientist.
from the father.
I am a retired professor and scientist of Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore. My wife is running a NGO in Coimbatore district covering the tribal villages in and around Isa. When we happen to go to the tribal villages through Isa, at that time the Isa was no such a building. He was in a hut. At that he will be standing outside the hut. When he used to go through his hut, he used to ask, "Why don't you merge the NGO, your NGO with our Isha Foundation?" The Jackie was they used to ask like that. Myself and my wife used to say that we are service is totally different. Your service, how can we merge? No, no, you are having very good respect from the tribal in around Isa, but they are not believing us. Therefore, if you come and join with us, we can do many wonders. We flatly refused. At the time, he approached Tamil Nadu Agriculture University when I was warden there. Why don't you permit us to conduct the Isa Yoga classes inside the Agriculture University campus? I told that our authorities are not permitting. Outsiders are not allowed. If you want, you conduct outside the campus, not allow inside the campus. The Jackie has decided to revenge me through my daughter.
So Jaggi has decided to revenge me through my daughters. That is one of the things, and he has taken recourse to law. Obviously, he has filed a complaint and approached the Madras High Court. But there are questions around, the observations that Madras High Court made, especially because these are grown women. And I think you also made that point rightly, that when it comes to adult women and their choices, is there a fine line between legality and morality? Is the court right in making this observation that when you have your daughter settled abroad, why are you advocating monkhood? Is that a legal, does that come under legal purview, that sort of an observation?
No, it doesn't, because see, observation can be made. But if I go by the law of the land, the High Court can make an observation, but it cannot execute it as a law, saying that your daughter, you got them married, and my daughter, this one's daughter, you are forcing them into sainthood. So, because again, I said the fundamental right becomes very important, and the main fundamental rights, even which the Supreme Court has quoted, are from Article 19 to 22, because right to life means right to live with dignity. Right to life, Article 21, also includes your choices, what choices you meet, what profession you want to pursue. But as I said, the problem where the Supreme Court says that the police shall not take any further action in pursuance of the directions of the Madras High Court. I mean, Madras High Court is also a responsible court, and if it has ordered an inquiry, there was no harm in getting the truth out. Because if these minors who have faced sexual assault as alleged by the father, that needs to be investigated. Whether there are other women facing depression who have been compelled or brainwashed, or there are drugs on the campus, all these things need to be investigated. So that part needs to be investigated. But as far as the law is concerned, because the Supreme Court, while hearing the parties, also listened to the girls in chamber. It had those women, and it heard them, and the girls said that they had come there out of their own free will. Nobody had forced. So that is the issue, that once these girls who are adults, they are women, and if they are deposing before the court and saying it is our free choice, no authority, no court can force them to come from there. If you remember the Hadia case, where they said it was love jihad and she had married, but then she was an adult, she deposed before the Supreme Court and said, look, I have converted, I want to marry this guy, it is my choice, my freedom. And the Supreme Court had to uphold that, and Hadia was sent to her husband. So this is where the constitution comes in. So there is, I would say, constitutional morality. The constitutional morality is upholding the tenets of the constitution, which says that every girl has a choice, freedom to choose a partner, freedom to choose the way she wants to live. So the law is on the side of the girls, and that is why they have got that reprieve from the Supreme Court. But yes, the father, if he feels that his daughters have been brainwashed, there is something hanky panky going on the ashram, then of course he too has a right to get to know what the truth is, and that is where I think the police should be allowed to do its investigation.
But the police was there inside the campus, inside the premises. There were raids conducted. Obviously, the police did everything within their powers to go check what actually goes on. It was not as if that part of investigation was not done. Do you think that was fair on the part of the police? Because questions are also raised about institutional privacy. And in fact, the Supreme Court has said that for police or army to intervene in these institutions is something that it has frowned upon.
No, it may be frowned upon, but if a father comes and says, my two daughters are there and they are not coming, and in fact, we are told that one of the daughter was threatening the father that I will commit suicide. So, to what an extent the mind is controlled? The father has a right to know. Of course, the courts are free, they may not want to come, but if I feel that my daughters are being compromised, I have a right to go, and that is why he filed that habeas corpus. Habeas corpus as a writ of the court also means that I want to see them in person, I want to know how they are. So the father, if the father complains, and what does the law says that if somebody gives an information, giving an information of a cognizable offence is enough for the police to set the laws of justice in motion. So the police says the police has a right to register an FIR to investigate, and of course the law also says that if you don't find evidence, you can close the case. But nothing on this earth can stop the police from investigating a matter. This is a very part of the criminal justice system.
The statement coming from Isha Foundation, and I'm going to just play out. Of course, when we asked for them to join the program, they said we welcome intervention by Honorable Supreme Court and we would not like to comment. But here is the statement where Isha Foundation says, let me play that again. I think we missed that part. I think we should go back to it. Yeah, let me pause this here. It's not good. We believe that adult individual human beings have the freedom and wisdom to choose their path. We do not ask people to get married or take up monkhood as they are individual choices. Isha Yoga Center is home to thousands who are not monks and a few who have taken brahmacharya or monkhood. So basically, it just says that it's not as if people who join us have all adopted celibacy and monkhood. So that is something the ashram is denying, the foundation is denying.
See, the ashram will deny. That is what even a person who's committed a murder or has raped someone will always deny, because that is what is told by the lawyers: never accept your guilt, because once you've accepted your guilt, you are going to be finished. So they have to deny that. And but the issue is, if they are converting people, if people are leaving their livelihoods and coming there, well, it should be transparent. Why should there be secrecy? That is my question, because there are instances where people have given up all their property. In fact, if you remember Dera Sacha Sauda, they had castrated the followers, and yet the followers kept quiet. So either there is drugs which is being used, or there is a pressure. These things need to be investigated. In a democracy like ours, if a parent is raising an issue, I think there is no harm in getting it investigated. And I think Madras High Court, all it said was that the police to investigate and bring the report to me. The court did not order that you investigate and then put them behind bars. They wanted, if there are other criminal cases, there are other allegations, then you just investigate and bring the report before us, which the Supreme Court has stayed. But I would request the Supreme Court that there are women who do face depression. Mental health has become a big issue in this country, and so many places where women who are under depression, they have gone to these babas and sons or to these ashrams where they have been misguided. So I am not saying that they've been drugged or they've been violated, but if they've been misguided, then also they have a right to join the mainstream. And that too, if the parents complain, I think nothing can stop them. But yes, as per law,
highly educated person, a professor of a college, and he's given a backdrop to the situation, and therefore, like you said, the police is, in all fairness, had to inquire. But I want to also ask you that, because it's a powerful organization, like I mentioned in my opening comments, that it's an enterprise that runs across multiple nations. And also, like I said, for a program of 4 days or 3 days, they charge 3.5 lakhs to 4 lakhs per person. So for an organization which is resourceful, could this now backfire, Abha Singh, is what I want to know. Now, there could be a case of harassment and violation of institutional privacy if these two individuals, the two ladies in question, are saying that we were harassed for the last 8 years. Could it backfire on the complainant, the parents?
see, complainant is the father, and if the parents, if they can prove evidence that they have been harassed, Of course, then the girl should come forward and lodge a counter FIR on the father. But yes, the Sadguru Foundation is such a powerful organization. You see, they have engaged Mukul Rohtagi in the Supreme Court, and we all know how much he charges. So these organizations have loads of money. They are well connected. I'm sure half of the important people in this country would be their followers. So winning from these organizations is not easy. It would be a tough path for the parents. But yes, if their daughters have themselves voluntarily gone, then the parents cannot do about it. They have to accept the fate accompli. But on the same time, if there are allegations of sexual assault, of violation, of drugs, then the police should go and investigate, and nothing on this earth can stop the police from doing its duty.
Right. Is it fair also, like since you brought it up about grown women and an individual choice, for the court to summonize like it did in the case of Madras High Court, even went to the extent of saying that what sort of an ashram is this which teaches young women not to respect their parents' wishes? So that sort of a moral high ground, or sort of a a lecture, moral lecture. You of course said an observation is welcome, but it cannot be enforced in law. But again, the feminist point of view here would be there is a tendency to infantilize grown women and their freedom of choice.
That is also, I agree with you. I agree with you
Hmm.
that yes, women are still controlled even if they are adult. And their sons control them. So that issue needs to be looked at. Women should not be controlled and have a freedom of choice.
Hmm. I think I've lost your video link, Abha Singh. I'll try and reconnect with you in just
Yeah,
a bit. I'm just going to recap for my
yeah.
viewers, if you can please reconnect. So, what we were discussing, of course, is the fact that now the Supreme Court has taken up the matter. It has requested the Tamil Nadu police to submit all the inquiry reports to it, and the next hearing is on the 15th of October. What is also critical here is the fact that it's the parents of two women who are aged 38 and 49 who have complained or filed a habeas corpus in the Madras High Court, saying their daughters have been kept under illegal confinement, unlawful confinement, and they are being brainwashed against their parents. And the parents, of course, has said that they have been left abandoned. We were looking at pictures of the mother, in fact, completely breaking down about over this matter. And Abha Singh is back with us. I was asking you this question about whether there is a tendency to infantilize grown women, because it will always be said that, I mean, when you are in your 40s and you've made this choice to stay in an ashram, why this tendency, and why would the court say something like, what kind of ashram teaches women to disrespect parents' wishes? So the sort of a morality
Definitely
lecture.
in this country, I think there's an echo, but
No, please continue.
I can hear my voice. So, the issue is here that the country feels, the parents feel that even if women are adults, they have to be under the control of the father, which is not possible. Either the husbands feel or the sons feel. So this patriarchy to some extent is making the father feel that the girls are under the control of the ashram. But if the Supreme Court is satisfied, because Supreme Court talked to those two women, and they had a chamber summons for them, I think, and they did talk to the women. And if the Supreme Court is satisfied that these girls are there voluntarily, they are not being abused, they are happy over there, then no law on this land can force these women to come to the father. The case will fall. The father would not be successful.
Right. What do you think? Is the case that the parents can now, in what grounds can they even take it forward? Like you said, if the Supreme Court is satisfied that these are independent choices and individual choices, the parents will have to reconcile with the fact, right? There can be no other legal recourse that the parents are left with.
Yes, they cannot force the children to come back. The girls are adults and the constitution protects them. All the parents can do is, if there are any criminal cases, if there are something, they have abusing girls, as they said that POXO case. So that only they have a criminal recourse. They can get an FIR against the ashram or the followers, but not get the girls back.
All right. Abha Singh, thank you so much for joining us today on the program, giving us your clear
Thank
perspective
you so
on
much.
this matter. Really appreciate your giving us the time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, we were trying to understand this matter from a legal perspective, and you heard a senior advocate there explain to us how the matter or where the matter really stands when it comes to adult women and their choices. It's the law is very clear, but then the investigation is important, is what you just heard Abha Singh also say, because these are cases which has a certain precedence of other godmen where there have been violations, there have been illegal confinement, and we know a number of such cases. So obviously there is a need to investigate and have a thorough understanding of what exactly is the complaint, and is there any merit in the parents complaint. After all, it's the parents of these two women who have filed this complaint. The father even goes to the extent of saying that there was a case of fallout that he had with Jaggi Vasudev, also known as Sadguru, owing to which he has decided to get back at him. A three-judge bench led by Chief Justice D. Chandrachud has not only transferred the case but has also restrained any further police action based on the High Court's order. To that, you just heard the expert on the program say that perhaps that should not have been done. Perhaps the police inquiry should have been allowed to continue, because here is a matter which is within the jurisdiction of the state police. They are best equipped to understand how what is the modus operandi, what goes on inside this particular ashram. If there are any anomalies, any discrepancies, that should be investigated. In the case of these two women, of course, they've appeared before the Madras High Court and they confirmed that they are there voluntarily. Yet the matter, of course, is now still pending with the Supreme Court. The next hearing, we are given to understand, is on the 15th of October. So, after interacting with the two women, what we understand is that the CJI himself had an interaction with the two women, and they informed the CJI that they were at the Isha Ashram, Isha Foundation ashram at their own, with their own volition. They also said that the police were at the ashram for 2 days, and raids, as I mentioned, were conducted. Over 100 policemen entered the premises of the Isha Foundation. That made big headlines. Representing Isha Foundation is Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who also told the Supreme Court that the Madras High Court should have been more circumspect before passing the order. So, while hearing the habeas corpus petition filed by Dr. S. Kamaraj, who is a retired professor, father of Geetha and Latha, the two women in question, the court, the Madras High Court, in the first instance, of course, said that here is a case that has to be investigated, and it wanted the police. In fact, it was upon that order that the police entered the premises. So, 150 police personnel, apparently led by additional superintendent of police from Coimbatore Rural Police Station, entered the Isha Foundation campus and conducted inquiries. So, the ruling that comes from Supreme Court is a significant one. It has stayed the Madras High Court's order for further police inquiry into Isha Foundation. The court has decided that all cases related to the foundation would now be transferred to the Supreme Court, and also emphasized that there can be no further coercive action against Isha Foundation. All that has been put on hold until further notice. As I mentioned, the CJI interacted with the two women during the proceedings. The petition was initially filed by the father, who alleged that his daughters were being held against their will, claiming that they were brainwashed. He also claimed in his petition that they were given food to impact their cognitive abilities. So his argument is that they are being brainwashed. They are not there out of their own will or own volition. So the matter stands pending before the top court. We leave it at that for now. Thanks very much for watching the program here on Free Press Journal. Thanks a lot.